welcome the Voice of the Coast. Chris Hunter subbing for Danica Foley Long today. Our guest today is from Patterson, Miss Katelyn Foxworth. She is a wife, a mother, a business owner, and an author. And the book we're going to talk about, and there are a few, but we're going to concentrate on one book in particular that will be coming out next month. The book is called I Killed My Own Killer. Let's hang on that title for a moment. That's an eye-opener. I Killed My Own Killer, and there is a subtitle with that as all, but I'm going to come to that later because it'll kind of start giving away where we're going with the book. But first of all, Katelyn, thank you for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Let's do a little background here.
Sure.
Just your personal backgrounds for people that don't know you.
Absolutely. So being from Patterson, Louisiana, fresh out of high school, I went to LSU. I loved it, and I got my degree in advertising and marketing. In high school, did some interning over here, and I loved it. And I really thought that I wanted to be a news reporter or advertising and just really be in the media industry. And fresh out of college, I realized I wanted to be a business owner. I wanted to be in control of my time, my money, and later on, how much time I spent with my family because I knew that was going to come. So through a lot of hard work, I met my husband. After many prayers, found him. He wanted to be a business owner as well. So we graduated LSU, moved to Atlanta, Georgia, loved it, and that's where we started our first business. And then when we found out we were expecting our first son, we moved back home to Louisiana just to have our village around us with all the help that we can get. And collectively now we have a business portfolio that we run together.
Where's your husband from?
He's from Mississippi, so he always says that since he went to LSU and met his Louisiana wife, now he's stuck being a Louisiana man.
All right. And you're a mother of two, as you said. Business owner. Talk about the business that y'all are in.
Sure. So we started off having a marketing firm, just doing Facebook ads for mortgage brokers, and we really wanted all of our income streams to be passive, to where we can go on trips and hang out with one another and have the money still coming in. So that was our first business that really proved that passive income is possible. So after pursuing the marketing firm, I wanted to do something in my hometown that my hometown needed. And I realized Morgan City, the pool was going down. They were the only ones that had swim lessons during the summer. And that was really the only recreational activity for kids to do in the summertime. So in 2018, we opened up Foxworth Swimming Lessons, which is taught at the Berwick Country Club. And that's a business that we run seasonally in Berwick. Aside from the marketing firm, the swim lesson business, we have a cleaning business in Morgan City, Louisiana as well. And we have a fleet management company, which just means we have a lot of vehicles that we let people Uber and Lyft in once we hire them.
Okay. And there's a house cleaning company.
Mm-hmm. As well. And that's Caretaker's Cleaning. Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. What made you want to start writing?
I started writing because even though I was fulfilling my passion of being a business owner and being a mom, there was still a part of me that was just empty. And I realized it's that creative piece. It's what made me want to be a journalist in the first place. It's what made me just happy in college. I would always write. And one of my biggest forms of prayer is whenever I'm journaling my messages to God. I just love writing. So that's whenever I started writing, whenever I was vegan with the first book. And I just published an ebook to let's see if we can make some money from it and change lives in the meantime. And it was a success. So I really just started drafting out time in my day to pursue that writing goal and passion that I have.
Okay, now the book we're going to be talking about today is actually your second book, which will be coming out. There it is, I Killed My Own Killer. And they'll be coming out next month.
Oh, yes, I'm excited.
And two more in the works behind that, all kind of following a theme of yours, which is kind of a self-help / self-diagnostic
That's it.
project.
Yes.
Let's go ahead and give that subtitle now, if you couldn't see it. I Killed My Own Killer. Subtitle, How I Was One Click Away from Dying. The key word there is click. Mm-hmm. We're talking about the internet.
Exactly, and I don't even know if you have to click in today's world. You just touch, and there it is.
Oh, man, sometimes I don't think that's even it. My wife and I will be talking about something, but the phone just happened to be sitting there. Next thing you know, we're getting ads for the subject we were talking about.
Wow, you think it.
I think they'd listen to us. It's just really strange. But what was it that happened was there a particular thing that happened while you were using the internet that said to you there's a problem?
There was many, but my epiphany moment was I was in church and I heard God tell me to give up social media. And my immediate response was, no way I'm giving up social media. This is how me and my husband make our money. I was very stubborn to the idea of giving up social media. So after lots of thoughts and prayers, I I was like, okay, I'm going to give up social media and see what happens. And this was right before COVID happened, so it was in January. I gave up social media. No Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and this is how my family keeps up with me. This is how me and my husband run our businesses. So it was just cutting something cold turkey that was a big deal in my life. And once I gave up social media, I started to see how it was killing me in so many ways.
Okay, so it was kind of a social experiment of your own. We'll delve into it a little bit more. We need to take a quick break, but we'll come back and we'll talk a little bit more about this. This is Voice of the Coast. Stay with us. Welcome back to Voice of the Coast. Chris Hunter. I'm filling in for Danica Foley-Long today, and our guest, Katelyn Foxworth, Patterson native, wife, mother, business owner, author. The book is I Killed My Own Killer, How I Was One Click Away from Dying. Now, I mentioned it's actually your second book. Let's backtrack a little bit and talk about the first book,
Sure.
which was called I Killed My Father's Killer. Now, I'm sorry to say in this case, killer was really a literal death.
Yes,
and
it
what
did.
is the subject we're talking about in that first book?
The first book is all about health and wellness, and the killer that took my father was a heart attack. So growing up, he just ate whatever was readily available here in South Louisiana, not realizing what it was doing, compounding later on into his life. So before he could reach 40, he had a heart attack. And whenever I was 9, I didn't really understand what was happening. But as I got older and started to study what we eat compared to what the rest of the world eats and what it's doing to our bodies and the lifespan that you could live overseas, I started to do my research and realize why.
Boy, and you mentioned it, South Louisiana. I was talking to my brother-in-law just the other day. He just got back from a vacation in Montana. And based on what he saw, he said, Chris, I don't know why we live here. I said, you'll remember as soon as crawfish season starts. So yeah, we've got a very different eating habit in South Louisiana. We're very proud of the food, but it can be a big problem for us.
You're right. My podcast talks a lot about that. Here in South Louisiana, we live for food instead of letting food be the reason that helps us live. We live for those seasons, whether it's festival season and crawfish season, Mardi Gras season, the holidays even. We're always talking about the food, and that's how we get social love from one another. And it's not a bad thing. My book isn't this diet book that you need to read to change yourself, but it's just saying, how can I change my lifestyle to still live here in South Louisiana, but have a healthy balance in doing so?
But you said you went vegan.
I did.
Somewhere
I took that extreme approach so y'all wouldn't have to. I figured if I go vegan and I learn just all things about fruits and vegetables and things that I can put into my diet, I can simplify it for other people and help them do the same thing.
How difficult a transition was that for you?
I had to take baby steps. I first went vegetarian, and after going vegetarian, I went vegan. And for those that don't know, vegetarian is just where you cut out meat, and vegan is where you cut out all animal products. So no ice cream, dairy, cheese, eggs, even honey for some vegans. And then I just did what was best for me.
How long did it take you to fully transition to vegan?
3 months. So I was vegetarian for a month and a half, and the results that I saw on my body physically excited me to just go vegan the next month and a half, because once I let go of meat, I started dropping weight really quickly, like weight that I was hanging on to since my junior high days. So being in college, that was pretty exciting. So that's how I went from vegetarian to vegan, just being excited off of the weight loss. But then once I was vegan, I felt better.
Did this happen during college or after?
I was in college whenever I went vegetarian and vegan, and I continued that lifestyle after I graduated and moved to Atlanta, Georgia.
Yeah, I remember college, and that's a difficult time to make that kind of a transition, because it's really the first time in your life that you really start to control what you eat. And for most people, that tends to have some bad choices involved.
You're right. Between the drinking and then budgeting, for your own groceries in college, and then not having enough time, I realized if I just devote a little bit of time to eating healthier foods and prepping it, I'm healthier in the long run. I have more focus to study and more energy to get everything accomplished that I have to in the day. And we have this persona that it's so expensive to eat healthy, where it's really not. I just found ways to make it happen here in South Louisiana at LSU, and I did it.
All right. What would you recommend for people that want to improve, but they don't want to go full-blown vegetarian or even vegan?
I would suggest, number one, the fact that you want to improve, that's a step forward right there. So just take baby steps and do what it looks like for you. I have a coaching program while I help people do that, and one of my participants is just going pescatarian. So they're cutting out red meat and pork, things that they know they don't feel good after they're eating, and they're just cutting that out of their diet. Or maybe it's grandma's pie that you look forward to every Sunday meal. Just cut out that one sweet once a week and then see how your body feels. And once you get excited from accomplishing that goal, then move on to the next one.
All right. We're going to have to take a break in a moment, but first of all, let's mention your website.
Okay.
It is
kfoxworth.com. So www.kfoxworth.com.
And that is where you go to order the book. You can order I Killed My Father's Killer, which is available immediately.
Yeah, that one's available
I Killed
right
My
now.
Own Killer next month, and then two more forthcoming later on. I think they're mentioned, but they're not ready to order yet. But we'll talk about that in a little bit. We'll take and your blogs as well.
Blogs are
You do
there,
blogs.
podcast is there, everything personal development is on the website.
All right, stay with us. We're going to take another quick break. We'll be right back with more Voice of the Coast. Welcome back to Voice of the Coast. Our guest is author Katelyn Foxworth, author of 2 books. Here's one of them that's already available, I Killed My Father's Killer. The one that comes out next week is, next month, I Killed My Own Killer, How I Was One Click Away from Dying. Let's get back to the internet. You mentioned you got a message from God saying get off of social media. What do you think sparked that?
The fact that I needed to. At the time, I had a newborn who I would be nursing and looking at my cell phone with. I had a husband who needed me, and I was very angry with him for no reason because all my attention was on my phone. So the fact that I needed to get off of social media, I think that's where that calling came from.
Okay. And you mentioned when we were talking before that you think COVID has a lot to do with the basic problem of society and its relationship with the internet. What do you think is going on there?
We went from spending time with one another and our families to spending time with just our cell phones and then watching our family and friends through the lens of what social media portrays. And in doing so, you can start to compare yourself to what other people have that you don't. And then that leaves yourself personally lacking or feeling like you have less than. And then that just sends you down a spiral of depression, which leads to anxiety. So a whole bunch of issues.
What in the book do you touch not just on social media, but on specific subject matter? Some people might have a problem with gambling on the internet. Some people might have a problem with pornography on the internet. There's a lot of dark avenues you can take.
Absolutely.
On the
And
internet.
Scripture says only a fool counsels himself. So if you have one of these addictions or you have one of these problems, you're not necessarily going to see it. So I had to take myself out of the equation, take myself off of social media for God to really start showing me areas that I was struggling with. A personal example I talk about in the book is whenever I was growing up in junior high, ICQ or AOL Messenger had started coming up, and I would tell people what I was doing, what my weekend plans were, what movie theater I was going to, not realizing I don't know the person on the other side of that messenger. I don't know their age or what they look like, so what if they come find me at that location? Whereas if you take that example, that was back in the early 2000s, and you multiply it times 10, that's what we're looking at today, where your location is sometimes automatically shared just by using social media apps. And the younger generations, they don't know that. So they're very naive, just like I once was as a child.
And there are a lot of apps out there or media avenues like Facebook, for instance, where not only do you not necessarily maybe not know the person as well, but there might be people seeing it that you don't even know are looking at your website. And that just makes it even worse.
And then that could lead to you not getting a job because your profile isn't set up accordingly or the employer doesn't like what they're seeing online. So there's just a lot of ways that social media really kills us that we don't even see it.
And I'm sure you remind people on there, once it's out there, you can't take it back.
You sure
can't
can't.
get it back. As a parent, how do you delve into this in the book when you're talking about monitoring for your children. You can't just watch for yourself. Obviously, even more so, you have to watch what your kids are doing.
You do. I love that you asked that question, because writing the book, it really helped me reshape a lot of the reasons why my mother did certain things. I used to have ringtones on my cell phones that were certain songs, and my mom wouldn't let me listen to them, and I thought she was just being over dramatic. And now I realize as a parent why she didn't let me listen to those things, especially because you don't know how other people are looking at that and what your image really says about you. So from a parental standpoint, it makes me just be very weary of what my child can watch, and I try to monitor it as much as possible. I was watching YouTube with my son the other day, and it was a kids channel portraying Chucky and Jason and Michael Myers on a kids channel. So that broke my heart that they were bringing horror into a kids channel, because even when I'm right there watching it with them, it's in my face.
This is just fascinating stuff. I love it. One more time, let's mention the website
Sure.
so people know where to go to get the book.
www.kfoxworth.com.
All right. Let's take a moment. We'll take one more break. We got one more segment to go. Stay with us. We're going to talk about the future for author Katelyn Foxworth. Welcome back to Voice of the Coast. One more segment with our guest, author Katelyn Foxworth of Patterson. The current book, or the book that will be coming out next month, is called "I Killed My Own Killer: How I Was One Click Away from Dying," a self-diagnostic look at how we relate to the internet. Now, you have got two more books in the works. You show them, at least the titles, but they're not yet available for pre-sale. But let's talk a little bit about where you're going. In both of these, once again, the killer is not a literal killer. Thank goodness for that. But it's definitely places where we can run into big problems in our life. First one, "I Killed My Husband's Killer," which is a book about.
That book is about finances and just being a business owner. There's so many ways, just as my husband's wife, trying to be a business owner with him, I was killing him in so many ways because we were not on the same page with the financial goals that we had, and just the business goals that we really wanted to pursue.
And that's a different avenue, or a different path than, for instance, seeing. You wrote about your father, and what happened to your father, and how it related to you, and how you let it deal with you. The fourth book we're going to talk about a little bit was about your mother. That's all your life, but the relationship with your husband is obviously, a short one by comparison to how it's been with your parents. How quickly did it take you to see that there was a problem and figure out what y'all wanted to do to get things going in the right direction?
I think it took us the first 2 years of our marriage for us to put our finger on what was really causing an issue and why we weren't having any success in our businesses and in our marriage. But once we did that, every day it's a fight not to let that killer kill us, whether it's arguments about the finances or just ways that, I want to do things, and dropping my pride and realizing, hey, my husband may be right for this. So I really say that book is for anybody that wants to be a business owner or pursue their own business, if they even have an entrepreneurial thought. I journaled every single day since I met my husband, and that book encompasses the journal that I have, being network marketing businesses that I did with him, startups that we did together, different financial gurus that we listened to in books. Everything from our journey from beginning to where it is now and still evolving is journaled in that book.
When will that book be available?
That book will be available in 2023. So each year a new book comes out in some form of personal development.
Okay, so I assume this last one will be 2024.
Yeah.
And that one is "I Killed My Mother's Killer." Now, once again, this time it's not literal. Your mother is still with us.
She is.
But what are the topics for this book?
That is a spiritual-based book. So in the first book, I talk about how the actual killer killed my father. And after that, my mom, she dealt with a lot of things that were killing her because of the cause of death of my dad. So that last book really ties in together the killer that's out there that didn't take my mother, and how she overcame it with the power of prayer that I used behind the scenes, which is pretty awesome to see laid out, just from when my dad died to the woman that my mother is now, different addictions that she broke and things that she overcame as a woman.
And the book out right now, "I Killed My Father's Killer," and that's dealing. There you are. Okay, there we are. That's dealing with food problems, or not necessarily eating disorders, but eating habits and how we can
Correct.
improve them. It's soft cover. How much do they cost?
The books are $24.99, and they each have a journal in them too. So my goal isn't for somebody to read it, throw it, and say that was a great book. I want you to journal in it. That way, a year from now, you can look back at the goals that you had then and the changes you made and say, wow, I've came a long way. Let me keep going.
Great. Okay. We got about a minute left. Let me give you a little time to talk about your blogs a little bit. How often do they happen, and what kind of topics do you cover?
Sure. So my blogs, they come out about once a month. I like to email all of my subscribers to let them know a new blog is out, and it's just tactical ways that you could change different areas of your life to make it healthier. So the last blog I had was just how to improve, add more water into your diet. Another one I did was how to date your spouse during a pandemic, because you actually can't go on dates. So just creative ways to better your marriage, better your health, better your finances, different things like that.
All right. Very good. Katelyn Foxworth, thank you for joining us. This has been a lot of fun.
I enjoyed it so much.
kfoxworth.com is the website. I'm losing my paper here. Go on and check out those books. Order one, order two, or pre-order one. And be watching out for the next ones. They sound like they're going to be great. Thanks again.
Yes, thank you.
And thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time on Voice of the Coast.